What's up, my fellow quad geeks? Today we're going to be checking out Extendo Triplet Diddle. So this is, of course, a triplet diddle exercise, and with the variations that we have, we're simply moving across the drums and straight down the drums. Now, because this is such a long exercise, I've only recorded myself playing the first variation, but we are going to talk about tips for both of the variations that we have on the sheet music. So before we jump into quad-specific stuff for this exercise, I'd like to take a minute to discuss your approach to the exercise and how you should be thinking about playing diddles on one drum before you try to move them around the drums. The first point I would like to make is that throughout this exercise, there are only two separate rhythms. You have eighth notes and 16th notes. If you think about diddles as simply, a right-right or a left-left, what can happen is that as you're playing this exercise, you'll simply throw in the doubles and you won't place them where they're rhythmically supposed to be. This is also where starting the exercise at a slower tempo can really help, because it gives you that extra time to focus on making sure that those doubles on each hand are placed on the 16th note grid where they need to be. Also remember that the entire exercise is nothing but manipulated legato strokes. You know, the triplet eighth note check patterns, legato strokes. Same thing with the doubles. Think back to Sanford double beat, and also then think even further back to 8 on a hand. All these things relate to each other. So the slower you play this exercise, and the longer you play it at a slow tempo, the quicker you'll start to make the connection between diddles and how they function as simply 2 consecutive legato strokes. And of course, there is going to come a point on the tempo scale where it's no longer legato strokes, but definitely more of squeezing at the fulcrum and using the forearms to pump the sticks up to the speed they need to be. I know I've been spitting a lot of words at you, a lot of talking here, but the point is just to think of this exercise and approach it as another legato strokes exercise. So moving right along, let's jump into some quad-specific stuff. You'll notice that I did not mark time for this exercise, and while you should mark time to it, I did this on purpose. When you first start learning and practicing the first around pattern, and even the second, and any other variation, I suppose, for that matter, the key point to really drive home here is to keep the shoulders nice and still. So, to start off, you might want to just go ahead and put your feet, shoulder width apart, whatever's comfy, And don't worry about marking time at first, and just focus on, of course, keeping your hand and wrist angle the same and using the forearms to move the hands and sticks where they need to be, and really focus on not moving your shoulders side to side. This exercise is way too easy to do that on. So that just means that you have to be disciplined enough to make sure that you're not letting yourself rotate your shoulders when you practice this exercise. Don't forget about those playing zones either. This is another exercise that when you slow it down, it gives you the chance to focus on, burning holes in those playing zones and really driving those home. Keeping the shoulder square and making sure you're playing in the proper playing zones becomes even more difficult when you move on to the second variation, which is simply playing it straight down the drums. What makes this variation a little more challenging is that you have to cover a greater distance in the same amount of time around the drums between counts. So the biggest tip here is just take it slow and remember to keep all your technique points in check. So I'm going to cover all the checkpoints one more time. Remember to make sure that you have a proper hand angle, proper wrist angle, you're using the forearms to carry the hands and sticks where they need to be, and your shoulders are square to the drums, and also that you're playing in those proper playing zones, which, if you keep all the points that I just mentioned in check, playing in the proper playing zone should be no problem. So the last bit of information I'd like to give you is to just remember to go back to playing it on one drum, and remember all the information that we covered on the one drum, the first section of the video, and keep that stuff in mind and apply it to when you start playing the around variations. It's definitely a lot to keep in mind all at once, but take it slow, practice hard, and you'll get there. I'll see you next time.